In February of 2006, the United States Department of Transportation did something the car world had never quite seen before. It pulled the registered importer license of a company called Motorex, based out of Gardena, California, and in doing so, it exposed one of the strangest scandals in American car culture. Motorex had been bringing in Nissan Skyline GT-RS from Japan, cars so legendary that an entire generation of gamers built their childhood around them, and Motorex held a golden ticket, a federal approval to crash test one specific chassis, the R33, and legally sell it in the United States. Except investigators eventually discovered that Motorex had quietly applied that single crash test result to a completely different chassis, the R34, and had been releasing dozens of cars onto American roads that federal regulators had never actually cleared. When the hammer came down, 17 Skylines were found without proper compliance paperwork. Some owners got lucky, receiving federal amnesty letters because they had been, in the government's own words, duped. Others were not so fortunate. In the years around that scandal, federal agents seized and physically crushed gray market imports across the country that failed to prove their legal status, flattening genuinely valuable sports cars into scrap metal cubes just to make an example out of them. That is the level of seriousness the United States government brings to unauthorized foreign vehicles. And this obsession is not just about screaming twin-turbo sports coupes chasing lap times around a racetrack. That exact same iron fist has, for over 3 decades, kept some of the toughest, most rugged, most genuinely unbreakable off-road machines Japan ever built completely locked out of American driveways. This whole mess actually traces back further than Motorex. Through the late 1970s and into the 1980s, a massive gray market sprang up around European luxury cars, mostly Mercedes-Benz models, where independent shops would buy European spec vehicles, bolt on aftermarket bumpers and headlights, and sell them as federally compliant, when in reality plenty of those conversions were dangerously shoddy. Congress got fed up, and in 1988 it slammed the door shut with sweeping new legislation. Here's the part nobody explains properly. It is not that these trucks were unsafe. It is not that they were poorly engineered, because if anything, they are some of the most overbuilt vehicles ever mass-produced. It comes down to one specific piece of federal law, the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act of 1988. That act created what car enthusiasts now famously call the 25-year import rule. Under the federal code, specifically Title 49, Section 591.5, subsection I, of the Code of Federal Regulations, any vehicle that was never certified to United States Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards is banned from permanent road use, full stop, unless it has reached 25 years of age, calculated to the exact month and day it rolled off the factory line, not the model year printed on a window sticker. Miss that date by even a single month, and border agents will deny entry outright, no exceptions. There is a parallel rule from the Environmental Protection Agency too, a shorter 21-year emissions exemption, but here is the beautiful part. By the time a vehicle clears the longer 25-year safety window, it has already sailed past that emissions deadline years earlier. Try to import one early and you are looking at hiring a federally registered importer, a process that routinely costs between $9,500 and $28,500, with no guarantee of approval. Wait for the 25-year mark instead, and the federal government waves you through with a flat 2.5% duty, completely exempt from the 25% tariff applied to newer imported vehicles. Now, before we drop into today's countdown, if you love uncovering the machines America was never allowed to have, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are about to dig into 5 diesel-burning, rally-bred, mountain-climbing off-roaders from the 1990s that spent decades as pure forbidden fruit on this side of the Pacific. As of 2026, every single one of them has finally, completely, unquestionably cleared federal customs. No import scandals required. Let's start the countdown. Kicking off our countdown at number 5, we head to a truck most Americans only know through its watered-down domestic cousin, the Isuzu Trooper. In Japan, this machine was sold as the Isuzu Bighorn, and international markets slapped an almost comedic number of badge-engineered names onto it over the years. The Acura SLX here in America, the Honda Horizon in parts of Europe, the Subaru Bighorn, the Holden Jackaroo in Australia, even the Vauxhall Monterey in the United Kingdom. But the version that truly deserves worship never touched American soil, the diesel-powered Japanese domestic market Bighorn. American spec troopers only ever received gasoline power, a 3.2-liter V6, later upgraded to a 3.5-liter double overhead cam unit producing around 215 horsepower. International buyers got something far more interesting, a genuine turbo diesel option, first a 3.1-liter engine, internally coated 4JG2, producing somewhere around 125 to 135 horsepower depending on the model year, and then, starting in 1998, an even more advanced 3-liter double overhead cam 16-valve turbo diesel, internally coated 4JX1, putting out roughly 157 horsepower and a massive 246 pound-feet of torque, numbers that made this thing an absolute mountain goat when loaded down with camping gear and fuel cans. This is not some soft rental lot special either. The Bighorn built genuine motorsport credibility, taking outright class victories at the brutal Australian Safari Rally in both 1992 and 1993, and winning its class outright at the Paris-Dakar Rally in 1994. Because Isuzu never submitted the diesel Bighorn to United States Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards testing, and because the Environmental Protection Agency never got a shot at certifying its emissions output, American buyers were locked out completely for over 2.5 decades. As of 2026, every single one of these diesel Bighorns has now blown straight through the 25-year federal exemption, meaning you can walk into a Japanese auction house, buy one outright, ship it across the Pacific, and register it on American plates without a single federally registered importer or a single dollar spent chasing compliance. It is not flashy, it is not fast, but it is one of the most quietly bulletproof off-roaders Japan ever exported, and unlike a temperamental European import, you are not staring down four-figure repair bills every time something goes wrong. This is a truck engineered to survive a nuclear apocalypse and still get you to the grocery store afterward, and it is finally, completely, 100% street legal. Moving up to number 4, we stay in Japan but jump straight into Toyota's direct counterattack against that same Isuzu Bighorn, the Land Cruiser Prado 90 series, sold internally under the chassis code J90. Toyota launched this generation in May of 1996 specifically to compete head-to-head with the Pajero and the Bighorn in the mid-size luxury off-road segment, and in the United Kingdom, Toyota actually badged it the Land Cruiser Colorado, just to separate it from the larger, pricier Land Cruiser Amazon. Americans never received the Prado nameplate at all. The closest thing the United States market ever got was the Lexus GX, sold years later with a gasoline V8 and none of the diesel hardware that made the original Prado a legend. Under the hood of the genuine 90 series sat Toyota's 3-liter turbocharged diesel, internally coated 1K ZTE, an intercooled inline 4-cylinder engine producing around 140 horsepower, made it to a genuine full-time 4-wheel drive system, a significant upgrade over the outgoing part-time setup from the previous generation. In 1999, Toyota gave the Prado a mid-cycle refresh, revising the front grille, the bumper, and the headlight design. This truck earned its reputation the hard way, climbing loose scree, fording rivers, and shrugging off the kind of abuse that would send a typical American body-on-frame SUV straight to the junkyard. Because it was never submitted to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard certification, and because its diesel powertrain never went through Environmental Protection Agency emissions testing, the Prado 90 series diesel sat completely off-limits for American buyers its entire production life, right up until this exact moment. As of 2026, the entire 90 series run, every single model year from 1996 through 1999, has now sailed past the federal 25-year threshold, making it fully street legal, no registered importer required, no bond posted at the border. If you want a genuinely unstoppable Toyota diesel that Lexus never let America have, this is it. At number 3, we are going even deeper into forbidden Toyota territory with the Hilux Surf, a truck most Americans have technically already seen, they just do not realize it. The Hilux Surf is the direct Japanese domestic market twin of the Toyota 4Runner, and while American buyers got stuck exclusively with gasoline engines, Japan received something the United States federal government has never allowed onto public roads in any certified capacity, a proper turbo diesel 4Runner. The third-generation Hilux Surf, built on the KZN130 and KZN185 chassis codes between 1995 and 2002, packed the exact same legendary 3-liter 1K ZTE turbo diesel found in the Land Cruiser Prado, an engine so mechanically bulletproof that owners routinely report crossing 300,000 miles with nothing more than routine maintenance. Higher trim variants like the SSR-X came loaded with leather seating, heated seats, and factory sunroofs, proving Toyota built these things as genuine daily drivers, not stripped-out work trucks. What makes the Hilux Surf especially frustrating for American enthusiasts is that Toyota already had the exact same body sitting on American dealer lots as the 4Runner, but the diesel variant was simply never offered for the United States market, meaning it was never submitted for Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards or Environmental Protection Agency emission certification. And this specific torque monster stayed completely locked out of America for the better part of 3 decades. Toyota's multi-mode 4-wheel drive system, which let the center differential run in an open configuration for safe daily pavement driving while still delivering true 4-wheel drive traction off-road, was genuinely ahead of anything Detroit was building in the late 1990s. As of 2026, the entire production run of this diesel-powered Hilux Surf has fully cleared the federal 25-year import exemption, meaning you can now legally register one on American plates using nothing more than standard customs paperwork, no crash testing, no emissions retrofits, nothing. Number 2 brings us to a genuine homologation special, the Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution, and this one is a completely different animal from everything we have covered so far. Built exclusively between 1997 and 1999, with total production landing right around 2,693 units, the Pajero Evolution existed for one single reason: to qualify Mitsubishi's Paris-Dakar rally race truck for the production-based T2 class under the sport's governing regulations. Mitsubishi took the standard second-generation Pajero and completely re-engineered it. Under the hood sat a 3.5-liter 24-valve double overhead cam V6, internally coded 6G74, featuring Mitsubishi's proprietary variable valve timing system called MIVEC, along with a dual plenum variable intake, hollow intake valves, and titanium valve spring retainers, technology you simply did not see in mainstream 1990s SU Versus. Factory output landed at around 276 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, with 256 pound-feet of torque, seriously impressive numbers for a body-on-frame off-roader of that era. Mitsubishi did not stop at the engine either. They fitted a completely bespoke independent suspension system, branded ARMIE, widened the track by 125mm up front and 110mm out back, and equipped it with Super Select four-wheel drive, complete with a locking center differential and genuine Torsen limited slip differentials front and rear. This was not marketing fluff. The wider Pajero lineage went on to win an incredible 12 overall victories at the Paris-Dakar Rally, a record that earned Mitsubishi recognition in the Guinness World Records as the most successful manufacturer in the event's history, and the Evolution itself delivered a Dakar Rally overall victory in its very first year of competition in 1998, with driver Jean-Pierre Fontenay and co-driver Gilles Picard behind the wheel. Because this truck was built and sold exclusively for the Japanese domestic market, and because it was never once submitted to American federal safety or emissions regulators, it spent essentially its entire existence completely locked out of the United States. As of 2026, every single Pajero Evolution built, all the way through the final 1999 model year cars, has now permanently cleared the federal 25-year safety exemption. A genuine, race-bred, Dakar-winning homologation special, sitting quietly in Japanese garages for decades, is now 100% legal to import and drive on American roads. And now, for the vehicle, well, technically the hatchback, that earns the title of Holy Grail on today's countdown, the Nissan Pulsar GTI-R, a car so ferociously capable the entire enthusiast community nicknamed it Baby Godzilla. Now, before you say, wait a minute, this is not an off-roader, hear us out, because the exact reason this car belongs at the very top of a forbidden 1990s countdown is exactly why it earned that nickname in the first place. Built between 1990 and 1994 on the RNN14 chassis, the Pulsar GTI-R existed purely to satisfy Group A rally homologation requirements, which mandated manufacturers build a minimum of 5,000 road-going examples before they could compete internationally. Nissan did not just meet that number, they built roughly 14,613 total examples across every variant, including the stripped-down, lightweight GTI-RB competition special. But here is what truly earns it the Godzilla nickname, and it is not just marketing. Under the hood sat the legendary SR20D ET, a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 producing 227 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque, sent to all four wheels through Nissan's ATT-ESA four-wheel drive system. The exact same drivetrain technology found underneath the mighty R32 Skyline GTR, the original Godzilla itself. Weighing in at roughly 2,400 pounds, this thing rocketed from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds and topped out at approximately 144 miles per hour, performance numbers that genuinely embarrassed a Porsche 911 of the same era. Nissan built it to conquer the World Rally Championship, and while the car never quite delivered the podium sweep Nissan hoped for, getting outpaced by the Lancia Delta Integral, it did deliver something arguably more valuable: an entire generation of enthusiasts who fell in love with all-wheel drive Japanese performance before the Subaru Impreza or the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution ever existed. Because the Pulsar GTI-R was built exclusively in right-hand drive for the Japanese and European markets, and because it was never submitted to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration or the Environmental Protection Agency for certification, this car spent its entire life as pure, unobtainable forbidden fruit here in America. As of 2026, the final production year examples have now completely cleared the federal 25-year exemption, meaning every single Pulsar GTI-R Nissan ever built, from the earliest 1990 cars to the final 1994 models, is now sitting on the legal side of the law in the United States. A genuine homologation legend, wearing the same all-wheel drive DNA as the most feared sports car Japan ever exported, is finally, completely, yours to own. Think about that for a second. The same federal machinery that once crushed gray market skylines into scrap cubes has now, by the simple passage of time, handed America the keys to Godzilla's little sibling. 5 machines, 5 completely different missions, 1 shared story, decades locked out of America by a federal law that has now, permanently, let every single one of them in. So here's the question for the comment section: out of these 5, which one would you actually import first, one of the unstoppable diesel workhorses, or Baby Godzilla itself? Drop your pick below, and we will see you on the next countdown.